Shalom. And give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Chodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations to you brothers who's pushing the truth in the four corners, the highways and byways. Again, all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Chodash. See, brother Yashamar here with a quick, straight to the point video. Hope it's edifying to you, to the elect. So, just quickly, fair use. Right, the video that I'm about to play, it's not for any financial gain. It's basically for, to scrutinize for educational purposes, and commentary. All right, again, fair use after the fair use act. All right, I'm first going to read Proverbs chapter 14, 15, get into the video and get some other precept. All right, it says here, Proverbs 14, 15, the simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going. All right, let's get it. Oh gosh, all right, bear with me. Bear with me. The specific, the internet is creeping out every time you.
How will some?
Every time you get to.
If you do not have a
engagement with your Surinamese
I was there.
On a broader scale.
This is the newsroom.
If you do not have a bank account in the first instance, we encourage you to have a bank account. But if you, I want to say definitively to my Guyanese brothers and sisters, account in the first instance, we encourage you to have a bank account. I want to say
So let me just give you some clarity here. So this is the Minister of Finance. All right, his name is Dr. Ashni Singh. All right, so in Guyana here, they have basically portal and platforms that they have created to give citizens annual cash grant, right? The 100,000 cash grant. So last year, what they do was giving out the cash grant by check. People went to the banks and they got cash. All right. However, this year, they are digitalizing the system whereby money can be, sent to individual via their bank account. All right. Now, there's some skepticism with citizens, all right, that they not comfortable in going ahead doing such, having the government have their bank account information and stuff like that, right? So he now is giving assurance that those that do not want to have the money wired to their bank account could have it cash, all right, once they do choose. All right, but let's listen to hear what he's going to say, and I'm going to point out two things, all right, or a couple things, basically, just to show that these people, hey, they're very deceitful. What is?
definitively to my Guyanese brothers and sisters that nobody will be denied their cash grant. Nobody will be denied their cash grant on account of the fact that they do not have a bank account. If you do not have a bank account in the first instance, we encourage you to have a bank account. But if you decide that you don't,
notice that if you do not have a bank account, we encourage you to have a bank account. Why? Because the system is going digital. All right? eventually it's not going to be by choice if you do, and if you don't, it's going to be a mandatory thing. The system is all going to be all about being digitalized. It's going to have a digital currency, the information, everything is going to be digitalized. All your information is going to go through the government and the system that is set up. All right? That's what he encouraged. All right? No, second.
Want to have a bank account, or for some other reason you don't want your cash grant paid into your bank account, we will work out an arrangement and devise a mechanism for you to get your cash grant. So
Exactly. So we saying, hey, they will, devise a mechanism whereby they could get a cash grant. Know this, all right? If this government is, have an aim and an agenda to go ahead and have their, the system digitalized and enter into the technocracy and be a part of that one world order, all right? Hey, point blank, you are going to have a difficult time in getting your money, cash, or any type of subsidy money or incentive from the government. Cash, you're going to have a problem. Because why? The scriptures, when we're going to get Revelation chapter 13, 16, is going to show, all right, that this man's system, you have to be with it or not, or you can be against it. No, not saying this is the mark of the beast, but these platform here are all like prototypes, or like, basically a protocol, like a tryout, all right, or basically what the agenda is, all right. They're going to create these platforms so the citizens work with it, so people work with it, and how best they could influence and, attack. They're basically doing all these things for just room for improvement on how to get everybody on board when it comes to the MOTB and the digital system. All right?
you do not need to worry. And I want to put that issue to rest, and I want to say definitively, because I've seen a lot of online chatter on this issue.
Yeah, because people are being skeptical, and the words of the prophets is making its way out. So the thing is too, all right, he's saying do not worry. Maybe for the cash grant you not need to worry, but what you gotta worry about is the signs of the MOTB, all right, and which will be getting close to that time. Right, Guyana itself has entered into this Shields of America, all right, which they are all on board with the agenda of America, and it's going to mean that what America wants, or what she's going to, demand, these countries would have to fulfill that, all right, and you'll find these countries would be doing things and going about doing so by getting their citizens on board or to agree with it. All right. So I'm gonna play some more.
You too, and perhaps I understand why. It has been said before very clearly, but I'm going to say it again now, that nobody will be denied their cash grant because they don't have a bank account. That is not a required criterion for you to be able to get your cash grant. It is required for you to have a bank account, for you to get an electronic transfer of your cash grant without having to physically come in to register.
You see that? And this is the thing with these people, and they're learning the ways of America. It's a play on words, all right? Because, hey, this system is going digital. It is going electronical, all right? So it is not a requirement, but yet still it's a requirement. Because when the federal currency is done away with, the cash is done away with. Come on.
And then physically come in to uplift a check, and then physically go to a bank to cash your check. If you don't want to go through the hassle of coming into a center to register, and then coming back to a center on a subsequent date to collect a check, and then going on a subsequent occasion to a bank to deposit your check or to cash your check, you will have that option. But if you don't want to have that option, if you don't want to go through that hassle.
You see, if you don't want to go through that hassle, to have to be up and down to get your bank account. So if you watch, you say you don't have to, but yet still, he's still encouraging that you must. All right, it's basically a play on words. You know, it's lucky.
and you want to have your cash grant deposited into your bank account, we have established this time around a facility that allows you to self-register from the comfort of your home. Even if you're not able to do it tonight because the system is slow, you'll be able to do it tomorrow or the day after tomorrow or tomorrow night or whenever.
Yep. So there you hear it. I'm going to read again Proverbs 14, verse 15. The simple believeth every word, but a prudent man looketh well to his going. All right? A wise man feareth. All right? So what we fear, the beginning of knowledge is the fear of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yeshai. And what we have knowledge of? We have knowledge of the prophecy. All right? It says, and departed from evil. Evil going back to our bad time. So it's a bad time ahead. Right? And that bad time is going into the temptation that's about to fall upon the O Lord. All right? Which is going to be with the MOTB. It's either get with the system or, you just suffer without it, and die. All right? It says, but fools rage it and he's confident. All right? So, there's people that we're going to show this information, and they are going to say, hey, we're but arrogant and negative. Basically, conspiracy theorists. Well, let me read this precept here. Close out. This is Revelation chapter 13, verse 16. All right? It says, and he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark. And the mark is going back to that word charagma. All right? Which is charagma, which means mark, to imprint, to prick, or to imprint when you go deep into it. Correct. All right? It says cause it. So in doing so and causing all, right? That's why you find these people, they're doing these different tests. They checking out the public. They're going to see what caused the people to tick, what caused them to agree with things, what caused them not to go with it. And ultimately, right, what we're going to find is that they would develop such a system and get everyone on board. Well, majority of the people accept the elect, because the elect is not going to, agree with what they're going into. All right? It says, or in their foreheads, Salakil. It says, receive a mark in the right hand or in their forehead. All right? The chip, people will be putting in the hand. As you could see in some videos, people would be, passing the hands over doors, opening cars, paying for stuff, with this chip in their hand. All right, which is going to be convenient. A lot of people is going to think this is going to be convenient. It says, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that have the mark, or the number of his, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So, as you could see here, there's no kind of transaction you could be doing, whether it be buying, selling, receiving a cash grant or whatever, if you don't have this mark. All right, but this is the system that is setting up. Having the digital platform set up is okay, but when you receive the chip, when you receive the mark, the actual mark in your right hand and your forehead, that's the problem. All right, verse 18 says, here is wisdom. Let him that hath a number count the number of the beast, for it is a number of a man, and his number is 666. Okay? Anyway, with that, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham Akakodash, double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations to you brothers who's pushing the truth in the four corners, the highways and byways. Again, all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham Akakodash. Shalom. Until next video.